Get your mic on? Not hearing you. You must have your mic muted. You got your mic on?
It is now.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. What can I do for you tonight?
Just kind of listening. This is Ryan from Canton, Ohio.
From Canton, Ohio?
Yep.
That's where I used to live. That's north of there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I lived up in Medina County.
Oh, really? That's where my
Yeah.
wife is from.
I kept bees, Medina County, and up in Brunswick. Went to school in Brunswick.
Huh. Small world.
Yeah. So you're not from there too much, huh? You're down the southern part more.
Yeah, I grew up in Columbiana County, um, east of Canton, and my wife grew up in Medina County, and we settled down here in Canton. So we've got 8 hives on our lot here,
Good.
and then my dad's got 8 or 10 hives over in Salem, where he is.
In West Salem?
No, Salem,
Oh,
over in Columbiana County.
oh. There's
Yeah,
a
right.
West Salem too. My sister used to live there.
Yeah, yeah, that's over. Yeah, it's over west of here. So,
Yeah.
but no, the only thing going on, I had a, I did a, I guess a cutout out of a birdhouse a couple weeks ago. Some farmer had a little hive in a birdhouse, and I put that in a 5 frame nuke, and we're just feeding it and see if we can get it big enough for winter.
It should go through winter. I've run a lot of stuff by frame. You got you got YouTube running too?
Got what?
You have YouTube running right now?
I don't think so.
I got getting feedback from somewhere. It's a time delay.
Hmm. No, I can close some other windows, but I don't have YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I made all my mistakes in Ohio. When I moved south, I had to correct a lot of them. But I know, where you're coming from. If you make a mistake, it's next spring until you correct it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, last winter, uh, last winter I made the mistake of working too hard at my day job and not prepping my bees for winter, and I lost most of them.
Well, there's not a lot you have to prep for. I mean, make sure they got honey.
Yeah, see, and that was the thing. We had early frost last fall, and a lot of them just weren't. I made some nukes later than I should have last year, and didn't feed them as much as I should have, and they just weren't big enough to get through the winter. So
Well, a 5 frame nuke will actually go through the winter a lot better in Ohio than a 10 frame, with a super honey on it.
yeah, yeah. This year I'm gonna try. I do have some nukes back there, and this year I'm gonna try kind of wrapping them as a in groups of two to see if they can conserve some heat. So
Well, I don't think wrapping them is going to be your problem. I think if you're not treating your bees in August and September, you're not going to get your winter bees because you're going to have a really good honey flow with that goldenrod, and that's more than enough to take it through the winter.
yeah, I hope so. Hope it's good this year. We've been
Are you
getting enough
using
rain that it should be.
you using hive top feeders?
Yes. Yeah, we have. I build all my own equipment, and I just have my top covers have basically have a hole in them with screen under it, and then we invert jars over that, and then there's a little house that goes on top of the jars to keep the weather out. But that works well. You can just go back there and take off an empty jar and put a new jar on.
Well,
They suck
the
down.
your
They suck
jars
down
are going to
about.
kill more bees than you
What's that?
realize. The jars that'll kill more bees. I made that mistake a few years back. Trying to
No,
do a lot of stuff.
I haven't had a problem with it yet. They don't seem to drip. I get tiny little holes in them.
Well, the problem is that if it loses its vacuum and then you coat that queen, because if you got it right in the center of the hive,
Hmm.
that's where the cluster is going to be. And if the cluster gets wet in wintertime, those bees are going to die.
Oh, no, 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 no! I don't put them on in the winter. It's just in the summer. No, in the winter I just have I make sugar blocks and put them on like in a 3-inch rim
Yeah.
over top. I don't use the syrup in the winter. It's too cold.
Yeah. November through February, you're kind of wasting your time.
Yeah.
But if you got your bees healthy enough, they should store enough. You shouldn't have to put sugar blocks on.
Yeah, well, I think they'll be good this year. Last year I didn't have them build up big enough before
Yeah.
winter.
It's trial and error is what it
Yep.
is.
You live and learn.
Yeah. How many hives you run?
I have 8 right now.
I
So
would try to build you some 8 frame stuff and compare the 8 frame to 10. I
yeah,
grew up on 10, so
yeah,
I learned.
two I have two 8-frame hives back there.
You
So
don't feel they're stronger than the 10s?
they are definitely they build up faster than the tens do.
Right. Well, that's the thing that I have found. I run nothing but 10 frame, when I lived in Ohio.
Hmm.
And I was big into doing the honey. So I was running deeps, 5 and 6 and 7 high, and, it's bad in the back. So I've learned by moving south, trial and error and everything, that an 8 frame ought produce that 10 frame 2 to 1. It swarms less and it's easier to work.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably one thing my dad's been doing is he's been converting his tens down to 8 by putting like a just spacer boards on the 2 outer frames because he
Yeah,
doesn't actually they never build out those 2 outer frames
nope,
and then
I never do.
going into winter he just puts a piece of insulation, a piece of polystyrene in that space and a little extra insulation, but it's
Yeah.
effectively an 8-frame hive.
Well, it'll work, but the only thing you have to worry about is getting moisture in that hive. And
Yeah.
that polystyrene, it causes the sweat in there to build up.
Yep. How have
You
your queens done this year? The ones that like when's the earliest you raised queens this year down there?
I start as long as the red maples come in. They come in usually the middle of February or maybe the third week in February. When I got pollen coming in, I can start making queens.
The ones you made this year in February, did they end up doing pretty well?
Oh yeah, they did real good.
Hmm.
Right now, the end of the third week in June to about present, we're getting so much honey bound that the queens are just kind of shutting down because there's no place to lay. So we're pulling honey out of the brood chamber to give them a place to lay.
Yeah, the packaged queens up here from Georgia were terrible this year. That's the reason I
Well,
ask. And I know you guys had some colder weather late in the season. So I was just wondering how your queens did. Up here, the ones that we got from Georgia were just terrible. There was a lot of supersedure.
well, a lot. I can't speak for other people, but if you go on Facebook, you go on BeSource and watch what people post. I don't use chemical. So, my bees I'm not having a problem with. And
Yeah.
most people that get packages are making honey the first year. I'm running small cell bees too. That makes a big difference. Evening, Jeremiah.
Don, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
All right. Finally figured it out.
Yeah.
Um, Question for you, Don. Your in regards to I'm raising a few queens and I'm doing a starter strip. I'm getting rid of my plastic,
Yeah.
and my strongest hive where I'm putting in the starter strip. Every single time I put it in there, they're drawing it out nothing but drone cells, the whole frame. So curious to see if you'd have any advice of what I should do, and then what do I do with that all that a whole like the entire frame of drone frame? Should I just pull that out of there? Should I use it to let them fill it with honey?
How old is your queens?
I'm sorry, what?
How old are the queens?
I have one hive that's really strong, and so I'm trying to make splits off of it, and so I've been listening and watching all the videos before, so that it has an established queen, and I'm trying to raise more queens, so I started taking the plastic out and putting just blank frames in just to have them build their own wax, so I can actually cut those cells out once they get going. But every time I put a starter strip cell in or a starter frame, they draw it out into drone.
Are you starting with a piece of wax for a starter strip that's embossed or a flat sheet?
No, sir. I'm using. I don't have an embosser. I don't have any foundation wax sheath. I'm just using basically a thin strip of wood that I've waxed both sides.
Well, that might be your problem.
Okay.
Normally when you get a lot of drones, the hive is getting ready to swarm. But if you're trying to get them to draw it, what I would do is find someone local and buy a sheet of wax and cut it into strips. You get a 3/8, a minimum, up to 1.5 inches, and you drop it between two of those plastic frames, they'll draw it down into worker cells. Not a problem. Not unless you've got a damaged queen or you have some other problems.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering.
Because we're doing that right now.
Sure. Okay, that's an easy fix. And then the other question from last week, after watching last week, Don, and I think you might have answered this with, I think it was Ryan's question just a second ago. What's the bare minimum? I'm just real curious with how you're wintering. I had my first successful year last year to get the bees through the winter, but I used one was a 8-frame hive, one was a 10-frame hive. What would be your bare minimum for number of frames that you'd want to have to go through a Wisconsin winter?
A Wisconsin winter might be a little colder than what I'm used to. I used to live in northern Ohio, and I haven't done that much experimenting in Ohio. I've done more, North Georgia. But I go September, 8-frame hive, and I'll split it, make 2 or 3 nukes.
Right.
And I run 5-frame nukes through the winter, and I have quite a few people I know that's in Vermont, Maine. They're running 5-frame nukes. Okay. I would say if you had 2 to 3 frames of brood and a hive top feeder, you're going to go through the winter fairly easy. But from November now to February, or maybe where you're at, probably up in the middle of March, I wouldn't feed sugar water. I'd feed either honey or just dry sugar.
Got it. No, I caught that from one of the last chats. So when you break those down, Don, so when you're going from an 8-frame to a 5-frame, you just have queens ready, and when you're splitting them down, you're just throwing a queen in there right when you're, pushing them down to 5 frames.
Not necessarily. Right now I'm pulling a lot of cells, so I'll throw a queen cell in there that's sealed. It's ripe. It'll hatch out in a day to 2 days, and basically, I put a frame in there with a frame of honey, and I don't put no brood in there until the queen comes back. Once the queen comes back and she's starting to lay a little bit, then I add a frame or 2 frames of brood.
Right. I'm just saying, as you're getting ready for winter, you've got all that built up. It's not like you're going to go in September or October, take an 8-frame box and break it down into, do your split right then and break it down into a 5-frame nuke to go through the winter. You're kind of building towards that right now, is what I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, I've got my hives built up. Some of them are right now in double deeps.
Right.
So if I have a double deep, I can make easily 4 splits off it.
Right.
And depends how late I'm going. If I'm doing it in late September, 1st of February, I'm going to have mated queens out of some of my boxes, and I'm going to put in there. See, my 5-frame nukes, I don't run 5 frames in there. I run one frame or two frames the majority of the time. And sometimes I'll run four. And it's just a matter of speed. You don't have to move a lot of frames. You just slide it to the side and you can check your box quick. And I only put 5 frames in when it's a nuke that's built enough that I can sell it as a nuke. Then I put 5 frames in it so it's ready to go.
Sure. Sure. So advice for this winter, you would say I'll definitely try a few nukes, 5-frame nukes up here in Wisconsin, and then what I found last year that worked really well is, and then you mentioned it once before, was I did end up putting an inch or two of basically sawdust or shavings, yeah, thank you, in that top box, and that really, it was unbelievable the difference that made, because that I put about 3 inches in, and I checked it in December and February throughout those months, and there was a half an inch of icy crust moisture on the very top of those shavings. Yet 2 inches down is as warm and soft as can be, so that really helped.
If you put a 3/4 or a 1-inch hole under the hand hole on all your boxes on the front and put a screen over there, that helps get that ventilation going and gets the moisture out. Yep. If it's too much, they'll propolize it shut.
Okay. Yeah, I already was planning to do that this winter as well. But so you see no problem as far as I'm just trying to guess in my mind what would be the bare minimum to try to get bees not to freeze out. Like, what would be that bare minimum as far as numbers in a hive to make it through a Wisconsin winter? I mean, last year we had weeks where it was 20 below and it just held there. So.
Well, the main thing is your moisture.
Right.
That's the main thing. Now, even where you're at right there, there's people in Alaska that's raising bees. Okay. It's the moisture that's killing your bees. That's what the main thing is. People do not get enough ventilation in there. And, even what you're seeing, ice on top of that shavings, that's telling you there's a lot of moisture in there.
Right.
So wood hives, and don't paint the inside of those boxes. They have to wick away some of that moisture. Ventilation is the key. Then your hive top feeder, build you some hive top feeders, and if they get light, put a little honey to them.
Okay.
A quart of honey will probably run you 2 weeks or maybe more in a hive, a 5-frame feed nuke.
Sure. Cool. Well, thank you, Don. I've been listening to you and for the last probably year, and I went from 2 hives, and I'm probably going to hit 14 hives yet this summer by the time I'm all done. So raising my own queens and the whole 9 yards, so I can't say thanks enough.
Well, if you raise your own queens and you're not using pesticide, they're going to do a whole lot better than stuff that you're buying. And the other fellow said he had some bad luck with Georgia packages. Everybody raises bees different. I don't do large-scale beekeeping. I do more customized, it's organic, treat with essence oil. So I'm not putting the pesticide in. I'm not dropping the immunity on the bees. So they actually produce a whole lot better. If you have a 10-frame hive, to me, I would split it 3 times, and one hive, you could lose it. If you got 3 splits off of it and you lost 2 of them, you still got, one that you lost, you're still ahead by 1.
Right.
You have to play numbers.
Yep, I definitely caught on to that idea after watching your videos. And main thing I'm waiting now is just these queens. I have another nuke box that I've separated out, and they've got probably 5 or 6 cells right now that they're a day or 2 away from hatching. So I'm gonna go split those apart.
Well, make sure that they look normal, that they're not extra long or too short and stubby.
Okay.
If you've got nectar coming in, and you've got pollen coming in, and you've got enough bees in there, they'll raise good queens.
Yeah, they're looking good so far. Thanks, Don.
Good. Anybody else got a question, just jump on in there.
Hey Don, this is
Yeah.
Jeremiah.
Hmm.
I saw that you bought a
Do what?
whole bunch of packaged bees again.
Uh-huh.
Do you use one package for two, three nukes, or you use it for one nuke?
Well, what do you mean?
Do you split up the package, or you just leave it all in one nuke?
No, I usually throw it right in a nuke because I'm going to turn that nuke as fast as I can. You can take a 3 pound package and probably split it twice. It depends on your queens if you're making your own queens. To split it down, you have to make your own judgment on that.
No.
But the whole trick of the whole thing is you got to put the sugar to them. You can't depend on honey flow. That's what takes those packages into, good size hives.
So yourself, you prefer packages, purchasing packages over purchasing nukes?
Well, for myself, I'm teaching a lot of people different ways. A brand new beekeeper, put a package in, you're putting them on brand new foundation, and you're hoping they're going to stay there, and you're doing everything right. But if you're buying a nuke, it's pretty well established, and you've got brooding there of all ages. You got, bees that's hatching, the queens running around laying. You got honey in there. You got pollen. It's the inside of an actual hive is what it is. It's a mini hive. So once you put it into your box, unless you've done something really bad, they're pretty successful. But if you're going to do a lot of nukes, if you're going to buy a bunch of packages and put sugar to them, you can buy a package and triple your money in about 14 to 15 days.
Okay, thanks.
Don, you got me thinking about the queens again. Um, did you ever have any issues? I had a queen that hatched a while back, and then she looks like she's been mated, but is missing one leg. Is that detrimental? Do you think at all?
Well, if she's got one leg missing, she might not have flew out and made it good. I mean, if there's some visible damage, I would replace her. You can put her in a nuke and try and see if she's going to lay. She could have broke a leg when she got back, but physically, you want to look at a queen, make sure they look good, because that's what's going to take you through the winter.
Yeah, I'll watch her laying patterns, but so far so good it seems.
Well, is she laying now?
Yeah, she just started last week, so I'm starting to see some fresh eggs and about 3-day-old larvae on there. So
Well, the only thing you're going to have to do is keep an eye on it. You'll know in 2 to 3 weeks. If she never did mate, she could still be laying. Are the eggs the right size? Are they half the size or smaller than normal?
well, from what I can see, it looks pretty normal, and I guess that's a great question. Is as I'm raising queens, I guess I don't really know the difference to tell what to look at to see if it has been mated or not. I guess I was going under the assumption that it seems like when those queens were born, they were a lot smaller, and then after a period of time, they were just a lot darker and a lot bigger, and so I assumed that they were a mated queen at that point.
Well, a lot of queens, they're lighter in shade. The color comes in, 7 to 10 days. They start getting a little different color to them. And abdomens start filling out when they get full of eggs. So, I've seen small queens that were just a little bit bigger than regular workers. And usually within about 2 weeks, they fill out and start doing it. I'm running a smaller bee to start with, so the queens don't get extremely big like some Italian bees, they get real big and they can barely get into the cells sometimes.
Sure.
And I'm using a 4.9 cell size.
Right. So then, in your advice, the best way to see if that queen is, if it's an actual mated queen, would be to look for what?
I would look and see if they're if you got drones, if they're laying drones, if their caps are puffed up looking, they're probably drones. If she's not fertile, then you're going to get drones. So
Every time, all the time. Okay.
and then people say the way the eggs are, but I've seen many queens come on. They'll lay 3 or 4 eggs in a cell, and then they usually start laying one about 4, maybe 5 days later. They start straightening out and lay, one to the cell. There's a lot of people have a lot of different opinions out there when it comes to queens and performance and everything. You have to judge that.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate it, Don. Again, this is the first year I've ever had a success raising any queens, so just any advice on that, the better, as far as telling what stage they're at and how they're doing. So,
well, that's one reason I'm trying to do these chats on Saturday, to help people along, because there's no need for you to have to buy queens. You can start supplying your neighborhood with queens. The market's there. All you have to do is, put a good product out there and word of mouth. Put your ad on Bee-Source, something like that, or even Craigslist. And right now, my phone don't stop ringing for queens. I can't make it fast enough. I would say, doing custom queen breeding to make 100 queens that are a superior queen, rather than make 1,000 grafted queens. Money hands down is a better queen. Word of mouth is your best advertising. It's the same thing that I'm doing right now. My advice that I'm giving on YouTube and here, I mean, people, they're seeing results. They're not paying big bucks for queen making kits and all kinds of stuff that's in catalogs. They actually see the difference doing basic things.
Yeah, it's definitely working, Don. Like I said, I really appreciate it, because you've far advanced me in this last year here as far as beekeeping. The first year was terrible, and then I started watching all your videos, and this year has just been totally different, which has been awesome.
Well, most of the things are, when the new beekeepers start, they're going to bee clubs, and the bee clubs are steering them in the catalog to buy all the junk that they don't even need, and I think it causes more problems. And I'm basically trying to get people back to the art of beekeeping, not just buy this, buy that, and patch this with a chemical and do this with a chemical. It's not working.
Hey, Don, you treat with oxalic acid, don't you?
Yes.
When do you do that? And do you dribble, or do you use the fogger?
No, I use a vaporizer. You can't do it in a fogger.
I'm sorry, the vaporizer. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
The dribbling method, I don't even suggest doing that, because it kills brood and it contaminates your honey. But if you do the vaporizing, you can do it with open brood or open honey. Two-cap honey, it's not going to hurt it. And as far as treating it, if you haven't done any treating, I would say treat every 2 weeks for 3 to 4 treatments, then go to once a month. And if you're using oxalic acid, your bees die. The only way they're going to die is from starvation.
Okay, because I was reading about it, and it said that you should only use it when it's like broodless, like in
a dribbling method. That's why they say do it in a broodless, when there's no brood, because you won't kill brood. But
Okay.
if you wait till there's no brood, you're already way into the winter months, and then you're not going to have winter bees.
Okay. So you do it through basically through the summer?
I can do it year round as long as the bees are flying. If you're in cold country, like Wisconsin, and the bees are clustered up, I would suggest vaporizing them. Not just bees coming out cleansing flights, but you want to have a regular flow of bees going in and out. Then you can vaporize them.
Okay. And then how? Let's see. So how much do you use? How much oxalic acid do you use on like a, a 4 medium box hive?
We have the vaporizers that we sell. We send out some acid with it, and we send a measuring thing. So that measuring cup is sufficient for the size you're talking about.
Okay.
If you had 6 deeps stacked up, then I would say use double scoop.
Okay.
But you see, if you do it like I did in the videos, the oxalic acid vapor, the bees will beat their wings and it floats it all around. It just distributes it all through the hive. So 2 boxes, 3 boxes, it's going up there. And I would always treat on the lighter side rather than the heavier side.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I know that you do you generally treat all of your hives with that, or I know that you don't really treat a lot of your hives, do you?
Well, here's what, I get that question so many times, and it's about why do you fog? Why do you do the oxalic acid? Why do you use paper towels? People don't understand. I run a school here and I teach a lot of people. Maybe some of them are strictly organic, don't want to do nothing to the hive, so I treat the minimum way to show them what to do. And if they're going to go into commercial, you don't want to lose bees, you're going to do the oxalic acid. If you're going to go the chemical route, I don't even teach that. People want to throw chemical in it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay. How you doing, Scott?
Hey, Don, good to see you, buddy.
We chatting about bees again.
Yeah, I was having trouble getting in for some reason, but it finally worked, so I'm
Good.
here.
Well, we got people in and out, and I don't know if they get bored listening to me talk about the same old thing.
I was, I heard, I have a question. Can you
Okay,
hear
go
me?
ahead.
Okay. Let me put my. uh, I heard you talking to the other guy about the is it acrylic acid treatments for mites? And I remember in the last hangout you mentioned treating for mites. Uh, I guess what maybe August or the beginning of September. And is that a pretty good treatment, dollar for dollar, something that's effective?
Well, it's not dollar for dollar. I mean, if you treat with anything that's in the bee catalog, you're looking at anywhere from $5 to $8 per hive. Oxalic acid is like pennies, 2 to 3 cents maybe, and it's 100%, and it's safe. I mean, it's the government's finally approved it. Europe's been using it for years. Canada's been using it. It's 100% mite kill. The only way your bees will die is from starvation. You got to remember one thing: it's cheap to use, and you cannot overtreat. You could basically treat every single week or twice a week, and once you have no mites, you're just wasting time.
Okay, so it's cheap and it's effective.
It's effective, it's cheap, and you need to get right now, July and August, you need to do a couple treatments at least in those months because June, July, and August might start peaking pretty bad. And it's better to control them or maintain them than to get in there and try them, because you've got a 3 week window there where a lot of your cap brood is not going to get treated. They have to hatch out, then you treat, and then it's just a longer period.
Okay. And you just, as far as the treatment method, do you use? I've seen one. It's like a long-handled.
Right. I keep 3 to 4, sometimes 5 here all the time, and we ship them out all over the country. And I've had people that would be commercial. They have a couple hundred hives, buy one, turn around and call me back and get another one and tell me that was the best thing since sliced bread. It's just there's a cooling down point. You put it in there and it vaporizes in about 35 seconds. 20 to 35 seconds is normal, depending on how strong your battery is. But then the cool down for the unit is about a minute to 2 minutes. Then you treat the next hive.
Okay. Well, that sounds. I think I might try something like that. I think.
Yeah, well, you know, how many hives you have?
I just have 2.
Well, you could put mineral oil on top of the top bars. I mean, it's not as effective, but it's better than nothing. 10 times better than powder sugar.
Yeah.
Evening.
The other question I had, and we talked last time, and I'd mentioned screen bottom boards, and then you gave me your spiel on the screen bottom boards and the inner covers. I think I didn't, I guess, ask the question good, but I know you don't like them. But it comes with a white piece of plastic that has a grid on it.
Right.
And somehow you're supposed to be able to do a mite count with this thing. And maybe I just don't understand how that works.
Well, does doing a mite count make you feel better?
No. Well, I just don't know. Should you treat whether you see the mites or not?
When you see mites, if you're a young beekeeper and just started out, if you see mites, it's already too late.
Okay. So treat regardless then.
Well, a little preventative treatment. All bees are going to have mites. So if you're not treating, you're going to have mites. You know, the first outward signs is looking around for frayed wings. Look in front of your hive. Watch for bees that are kind of hopping around on the ground. Those are indications you're getting mites. But, you know, I'm running a lot of hives here. I got better things to do than put a piece of paper in there and count mites. So, you know, people that put the insert in there, I probably mentioned it last time, but you isolate an area where the bees can't clean. And if they can't clean it, you're going to get larvae from wax moth, hive beetles, and other critters.
Okay.
You know, if people want to use them, I'm not going to argue with them. I tell you my feelings on it, and I'll say you package the bees every year.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
like I say, I'm new at this, and the guy, he you know, whether he wanted to sell them and get rid of them, I don't know, but he said they're good for ventilation and so on and so forth. I didn't know any better, so I got them. But I've got a table saw in the garage, and I got plenty of wood, so.
I would build some bottom boards. You know, don't take my word for it. I mean, run the screen bottom boards on one and make a bottom board on the other one solid. And you've got to make that decision. I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, and all I'm sitting here trying to do is save you some time and grief and some money.
Well, and you've got a lot more experience than I do, so if you say they're crummy, there has to be a reason.
What I'm trying to tell you is free. It's you can take the advice or you don't have to. I'm not here to sell you a bunch of stuff in the bee catalog. I could care less if you build it or buy it, and these people that are selling you, that's where they're making their money.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I think I'll do that. I'll just make a couple and
try it, see how you like it. I mean, that's what the best thing to do.
Okay.
Hey, Don, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Okay, Don, I took a 10-frame hive and I split into 3 nooks.
Yeah.
3 of those nooks, 2 of them made their own queens, and 1 of them, of course, had their own queen. And I noticed they all come back and they were mated, the 2 nooks that made their own queen. My question to you is, when can I split again? How long would you wait?
Well, you said you had a 10-frame hive. You divided it, made 3 different nukes, or you had one box and divided it 3 ways?
I took one took one total 10 frame and divided it 3 ways into 3 different nooks.
So you made 3 separate boxes, or did you use the one box with partitions in it?
I made 3 separate boxes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right.
So now they're 3 5-frame nooks.
3 5-frame nooks. And how strong and how many frames are they covering right now?
The one with the queen is covering 4 frames, and it's starting to draw out the foundation I put in there. And the other 2 I checked, it looked like they were covering 3, 3.5.
Well, the one that's the strongest one, if you have a queen cell that's capped and it's going to hatch out in 2 to 3 days, I'd split it again.
Okay. So like what? So my question then also is like, I built 16 nooks to handle all this splitting I was doing, and now I have like a dozen 10 frames laying around. When can I start moving those after splitting this late into the season? Is it possible to get some of those nooks raised up back into 10 frames to overwinter?
Why do you want to run a 10 frame?
Well, I have 24 nooks now, and they're all full.
All right.
And I only have like 2 or 3 10 frames with hives in them now, and I got like a dozen 10 frames set to the side with no use. And
well, you can use them. Just you got a router?
No, sir.
If you go down, you can go to Harbor Freight. You can buy a handheld router. They're cheap for under $50. And just get you a piece of plywood, probably about 4 inches wide, and lay it up on the inside. Stand that 10 frame box up on the end, and lay that piece of plywood in there, and run that router right down the center with a 1/4 inch bit, and make a slot. And then put your piece of paneling in there, and nail a full sheet of plywood on the bottom. So that you have no regular bottom, just a piece of plywood. And drill a hole in the front on one side and the back on the other, and you got 2 5-frame nukes.
All right. Okay, and I was thinking about doing that, but if I was just going to put them in the a few of those nooks with they already had the queens in them that are stronger, and I put those into the 10 frame, you think it would be possible to build them up in the 10 frame to overwinter?
Well, if you run a hive top feeder on them and pour the feed to them, they probably would, but since you're building the nukes and stuff, you got a table saw, just build you some 8-frame stuff. 8 frames are going to outproduce a 10 frame 2 to 1.
Yes, sir. All my equipment that I'm going to do from now on is going to be 8 frame. But I had a beekeeper give me a bunch of old 10 frame stuff.
Yeah. I'd make nukes out of them myself. That's what I would do, and strictly go to 8 frame. Start building 8 frame. If you put the sugar to them, they'll grow.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Hey, and another question on that. I just checked in, so I didn't hear everything y'all were saying about that vaporizer.
Right.
Some of my nooks, like I got like God knows, I forget the type. What size is the end of the vaporizer? So, like to stick in these nooks.
The height of it's about 1/2 inch, 5/8 high, I believe.
Yes, sir.
It slides into a 3/4 slot.
Okay.
You had your bottom boards or something 3/8 high, didn't you?
No, sir. I built everything out of those plywood nooks.
Yeah.
It was cheap and easy.
Yeah.
And I don't think the hole I cut in the front of them is quite that large.
Well,
So,
if you made them out of plywood, you could just notch it where it's 3/4 high, about 5 inches wide, 4 inches wide, and it'll slide in. You need at least 2.5 inches wide.
okay.
That's the only disadvantage of that vaporizer if you drill a round hole, or if you don't have a clearance for the vaporizer to slide in.
So I need at least 2 inches high, you said, not wide?
Wide, not high.
Okay. How high do I need it?
I believe you should go standard 3/4, because that vaporizer, I think it's 5/8.
Okay. Yeah, I believe they're a little under 3/4. It wouldn't take much to do a little bit more shaving.
Sliding there. Evening,
All right.
Brooke.
Well, I'll be placing my order with you here soon. So,
Okay.
all right. Thanks, Don.
Okay.
So my bees, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
They're making a lot of drone cells, but no queen cells, no queen cups, no nothing. But they're doing awesome.
If they're making drones right now, they're probably preparing. The hive is pretty full, ain't it?
Yeah.
All right, if it's full, that's the indication they're going to make a swarm. Probably within, usually when you start seeing a lot of drone, 2 to 3 weeks, because the bees know that they got to be at least that old before they can mate for the queen. So I would go all the way down to the bottom.
Well, I
About
did.
every 7 days, look for cells.
Okay. Yeah. Because it was yesterday, I went through the whole hive all the way to the bottom, and the very bottom box, she has brood all the end frames. It's a 10-frame box. It's full, like just the tiny corners of honey on the ends, all the way to the end frames.
That's a good sign. I wouldn't complain about that.
No,
Just have a bunch of boxes ready.
yeah, I've got a whole nother hive set up and ready to go for them. So I was
You
just.
need more than one hive. If you've got a box that's that full, you're going to need at least 4 nuke boxes.
I do. Yeah, I've got 4 nuke boxes. I figured that's a full hive, so I've got that ready.
They'll grow on you if you don't keep an eye on them.
Yeah. So I was just wondering. I thought that they were getting ready because all the drones that they're making.
If you're seeing that many drones, I usually tell people go in their hive about every 14 days. But I believe what I would do is I'd go through them every 8 days all the way to the bottom. Because if you're not used to seeing drone or the queen cells, you could overlook them. And look along the sidebars. That's where they like to hide them.
Okay.
A lot of times, if you get crowded, they'll put them on the bottom, but they'll hide them wherever they can hide them.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go through every single thing.
You got wood and wax, or are you running plastic?
No, wood and wax.
Okay. Then if you don't have wires in there, just get you a little thin steak knife, and you can cut the cells out. And each cell you got, you could make a new nuke with it. If you got a pair or 3 of them together that's too close to cut, you want at least 3/4 of an inch on the outside of your cell. So just cut a little plug out and just put it into your hive, your nuke, and shake some bees in there.
Okay, what did you say about like 2 cups of bees or?
No, 2 cups of bees, that's usually for a mini nuke. What I would do is, if you got a good queen cell, put a frame of honey in there and shake about 2 frames or 3 frames of bees in that box. Because you're going to lose 50% of them. They're going to fly back to the original hive. The youngest bees are going to stay in there. And if you're using a regular bottom board, make sure you put an entrance reducer in it. Or if you have a solid bottom, use at least a 3/4 or a 1-inch hole.
Okay. And once I put them over in there, should I close the whole box up and leave them in there for?
How far are you going to move them?
A few feet.
How many?
A few feet.
Well, I would get you some hardware cloth and put a staple in it or use a thumbtack and close the hole up and put them in the shade.
Okay.
Keep them in the shade for maybe 2 days. Make sure the sun's not on them. And then transfer the box to where you're going to set it up. Then open the box up, and then they'll orient right to that location.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I'll do that then, because that would be easy. Because we got a shed. I can put them in the shed. They'll be in the shade.
Yeah, you can put them in the shed. Yeah. Just make sure you got a good frame of honey and shake the bees in there.
All right.
Easiest way to make splits.
Well, I'll check them here in another 7 days since I checked them yesterday.
Yeah. Just keep an eye on them.
Hey, Don.
Yeah.
Question with your nukes, the bottom board or the hole,
do you just do that for whatever you get scrap wise, or is there a certain reason for the hole over the bottom board
You mean
entrance?
a solid bottom with a piece of plywood?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times we're splitting very early in the winter, February, and it's cold evenings, so you can keep the heating there a lot better. They're more sealed up, and you just got a small hole in there. They're quicker. You can put one frame in there and make your split that way. You know, if you got a regular bottom board, you're going to have a little bit more bees. Put the entrance reducer in there. It just takes a little longer to build the stuff. You can slap that piece of plywood on there, and if you need the box quick, you can always knock that plywood off and stack it up and onto another box, and you had, you know, double deeps if you needed.
Okay, thanks.
Scrap wood's always good.
Especially for the pocketbook.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you know about like bee vacs, but we went and did a cutout. So, you know, a hive went in someone's Eve, and so we cut the hive out and did all that. But our bee vac that we built, we did 5-gallon buckets and to a shop vac, and then, you know, the shop vac to the buckets and yada yada. And man, we killed a lot of bees.
Well, I don't like to throw water on anybody's project, but I've tried bee vacs in the past, and a shop vac has too much vacuum to it, and it just burns the bees up. And there's so much vacuum in there, it kills the queen usually going up that tube. Now, I have some students that's built some with a smaller motor on it, and they actually put a package, you know, like you buy a package of bees, they save those packages, and they use it as a canister. They put it in there, and they vacuum up some bees, and they pull it out, and they put a lid over the top of it, throw another box in there, and they're having good luck with that. But those they built themselves with, you know, a lower amount of vacuum. The main thing when it's hot outside and you're vacuuming bees, you've got to have ventilation. And 3 to 5 minutes is about maximum vacuuming bees without them overheating.
Yeah, well, I cut the bucket, you know, up and then put screen in, so, you know, it's all screened instead of the bucket.
You have to have a device on there somehow to regulate the vacuum and the suction.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because, man, I was a bee murderer. I killed a lot of bees.
Well, it's live and learn.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
At the bees' expense. Poor bees.
Yeah. Well, everybody makes mistakes, and, you know. Evening, Pamela. Got a question? Jump on in there.
I got another one, Don.
Okay.
I'm pretty good spotting the queen, but I've gone through my hives a couple times, and I swear to me it seems like a queen's disappearing and coming back a couple days later. I can't find her. Sometimes I can't find any eggs or anything. Is it possible for them to be too close where a queen can actually leave and go to another hive?
Well, anything's possible, but, you know, it's not likely. When you're looking for your queen, when you open the box up, are they quiet?
Yeah, they're pretty quiet.
If they're quiet, then you got a queen in there. I find if you pick the frame up and hold it straight out and try to look onward at it at a 90-degree angle, you're less likely to spot the queen. But if you drop it down to your waist, look at a 45-degree angle, and you'll spot them right away. Because we have to find queens within just a matter of minutes. We don't have 30 minutes to look for a queen. We shake packages. You got to shake packages, you know, 25, 30 hives an hour.
Yeah, usually when I go through the nukes, when I get closer to the queen, they'll start to get a little noisy, and other nukes, I can't find her. They don't even do that.
Well, when you say they get noisy, the only time I've seen that they get noisy when you're picking frames up and you're inspecting, when you pick the frame up that's got the queen, within just a few seconds you'll hear them starting to buzz a little louder. That's an indication you got the queen in that frame. Now, if you're flipping that frame back and forth too fast, you can sling the queen off, and if you're not seeing eggs, that could be. She could have been down on the ground and climbed back up.
Okay. Thanks, Don.
Anybody got questions about honey tonight?
I've got loads of it.
You got loads of it, huh?
Yeah. We keep adding supers because they just keep filling it up. Tomorrow I have to go and I'm gonna pull all the honey from one and put in some more empty frames. But yeah, they're going crazy with the honey. I didn't even think we'd get honey this year. I wasn't worried about it. But
Are you extracting or are you just cutting it out?
no, I'm just cutting it out.
All right, what I would do now, if the cheapest way to do it is don't pull all the honey and add supers on it. Just go in there and pull every other frame and just cut the comb out and then put the frame right back in. You don't even need foundation.
That's what I did. I pulled a couple frames because like they were just full, So I pulled a couple because I had to leave, and so I'll just do that real quick. And they already redrew it out and filled it back up. Man, those bees, they're working.
That's what they do.
I was impressed how fast they drew that out and filled it back up.
Well, you can cut the comb out and just drop it into your strainer that you use like for spaghetti and set it over a pot and just cut it up with a spoon or a knife or like a butter knife and let it sit 24 hours and then it'll be just about dry. And then put all them cappings in a bucket, put you like a hardware cloth over it with screen, like for rabbit wire, and let the bees just recycle it. They'll pick it all up, and then you can just put that in warm hot water, and you can melt it down and make blocks.
Yeah, I want to start to do that. I've got a bucket that I've been putting some wax in. Just burr comb, and from I did strained one frame of honey just through, like you said, I did that with one frame, the couple frames that I pulled out real quick.
If you don't melt your wax about every 8 to 10 days, the wax moths will get in there and eat it all up. They'll have all webbing through it and be useless.
I got it in a bucket with the lid on it, so it's like completely
Yeah, they get in it. They get in it. Let the bees clean it up, get the honey off of it, and then just boil it. Okay. Go down to Goodwill or some yard sale and just get an old bucket. I got an old kettle, years ago, and I've been using it and using it and using it. Just keep it just for melting wax. Get you an old plastic bucket and pour that wax right through a strainer. It'll separate. The dirt goes to the bottom. The water goes to just above that, and then nice clean wax at the top. You don't have to filter it. It'll filter itself.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. I'll rewatch your videos on the wax.
There's 5 or 6 videos I've done on processing wax.
Yeah, I've watched.
I've tried filtering wax. Like a lot of people say, use sheer curtains, use coffee filters, use paper filters. You name it. I mean, old sheets, T-shirts. I've got a whole pile of all that stuff to show new students. All the different ways people tell you. The best way is the way I've done in those videos. And you get more wax back.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Are you still selling queens?
Oh, yeah. We're not shipping queens right now because it's so hot, but, I've got 4 in the house right now. On Saturdays, I have a lot of people call, so I try to keep a few here all the time. So I got people get in there and got tinkeritis, and they get in there and not watching what they're doing, wearing gloves, and kill a queen and get all panicky, need a queen quick.
Do you want to ship them?
No, when will you start shipping them?
I'll start ship. Where you at now, Colorado?
Yeah.
Probably won't start shipping until probably late August. It has to cool down.
Right,
Right
right.
now,
Yeah.
we're running 95 and better.
Yeah, us too.
If you're going to make splits, you won't need no queens.
No, but I'd like to get a queen from you just to get your bees, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, run what you got, and then in springtime, order some.
Yeah.
We're going to do a split.
Yeah.
I'm the only salesman that talks people out of buying bees.
Yeah, no. Shouldn't do that. No.
Well, there's a lot of people come to buy queens, and they look in their hive, they're not seeing no brood, no eggs. They get all panicky and need a queen. And 80 to 90% of them don't even need a queen. The hives are honey-bound. There's no place for the queen to lay. And you just tell them a simple thing like drop an empty frame in there and go back and check it in a week, and they'll come back and say it's full of eggs.
Yeah, I've got no problem with our queen. Our queen's doing awesome. I would just like to have your bees.
Bees are bees, aren't they?
No.
No, our bees are kind of, I get stung a lot. I really do.
Really? Maybe
Yeah,
it's the altitude.
I think she just wants your genetics.
I
Oh,
do.
is that
I
what
want
it
your
is?
genetics. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna go. My husband brought me dinner. I didn't have to cook, so I'm gonna go eat.
Okay, you have a good one.
Yeah, you too. I'll talk to you next Saturday.
Okay, we'll try to make it.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Oh shoot! I don't. Okay. I'm not sure how to do this. I think I'm still on. I don't even know.
If you're trying to shut it off, go to the bottom of the screen where it says stop broadcast and hit that stop button and it stops.
Well, I'm doing it on my phone, so.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe you go to the top of the screen and go to where it says on the little red phone at the top. Just click
If it's an iPhone, just touch the screen and all those options come up.
Yeah.
Touch the screen?
Yeah, just touch the screen and you'll have an option, disconnect, hang up, and all that good stuff.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Later, go.
See, you got more high tech than I got. I don't even know how to turn a smartphone on. I don't even own a phone like that.
I can't make my computer work, so I have to use the smartphone.
Oh, you're lucky if you can get it to work. It took me 3 months to get the Google Hangouts to work halfway decent.
Yeah, I've watched every Google Hangout, Don, and I've seen how you've improved from one to now. You're the man.
Wish. Trying to help out as many people as I can.
Yeah, since I started watching Hangouts, I went split crazy.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm a bad influence, huh?
Yeah, my dad said the other day, which he doesn't know anything about bees, he says, son, you got to leave those bees alone. If you keep splitting, there's going to be nothing left.
Well, they make more.
Hey Don, those nukes, what size hole do you use?
What do you say?
What size hole do you use on your nukes?
3/4 to 1 inch.
1 inch.
Yeah, and you could put hardware cloth, number 8 hardware cloth across it. In the wintertime, if you're going to double stack them. But just regular nukes for mating, 3/4 to 1 inch At least leave them that way all the time.
Okay, thank you.
We take a lot of our nukes and we make double stacks, especially when we're selling a lot of nukes. That way, if you got a double deep there, you could sell the bottom and then you're ready to go throw a cell back in there or a mated queen, and you could turn around and sell it again in about 8 days.
Okay, so you use nukes for primarily boosting and making more nukes. What do you do for honey?
Oh, honey's in the way all the time.
I don't seem to get enough of it.
Well, every area is different. You know, some areas is different than others. Evening, David.
Bad.
Hi, everybody.
Oh.
I wish you lived closer, David. You'd be out there. I'd pay you to do some grafting for me. I got to find somebody to pay him on a part-time basis to graft for me.
I just got done grafting 10 minutes ago.
Jump on the bus and come over here while you're still hot.
I think I turned most of them to mush, but hopefully I'll have something to take.
Well, you do what you can do.
Right.
Well, if you're on B-Source and you hear anybody that's close to me that, you know, wants a part-time job, I'm looking for someone maybe 1 or 2 days a week. If they can graft, I'll put them to work. Since I got my son up here now, I got to turn a lot more queens now. He's got to make a living at it.
Did you get a good turnout tonight, Don?
It's been up and down. I mean, it's been 3, 5, 7, then 15, 18, and some people's in and out. Some people come in and listen for a while, then they go. But at least it's starting to work a little better. Getting some good questions tonight. Hope I had some good answers for them.
Hey, Don, your mentor program, when do you usually prefer people to come out for that?
I have people coming, you know, a lot of time. Just some take 1-day classes, some take, you know, a year at a time. Basically, my commercial course is you come out Monday through Saturday, show up whenever you want to show up, do whatever we're doing. It's hands-on.
Do you also go through the finances of it?
The finances of it? What do you mean? Teach you how to make money?
The like taxes and stuff like that?
No, I'm not a bookkeeper. You'll have to take care of that yourself. Get you a logbook and mark down what you bought and what you sold, and get you a bookkeeper. I got a bookkeeper that does my stuff for me. I guess I'm more of an informal school than rather than like a high-tech school, like one of these commercial colleges where you pay $5,000 or $10,000 for a course. I'm charging $500 and teaching you how to put bees in a box.
Oh, I wish you were the 5,000 so the VA would pay for it all.
No. Well, anytime you got anything to do with the government, it's too much paperwork.
It's either that or it takes forever to process.
If you want to get started in bees, check your state, and a lot of state have a grant. It's an outward grant to get you started into beekeeping. Some of it's $5,000. I've heard $10,000, $15,000. I know one of my students got one in Tennessee. It's $15,000 one-time grant.
Yeah, I've been trying to find something, but it seems like they try to hide it in how they word everything.
get a hold of the ag department, and they should be able to tell you where it's at.
Yeah, I have to do that. Because I think they're getting pretty close to having all those submitted. I think August is when you got to have them submitted.
Well, there's federal grants that's available, and there's private grants. Ben and Jerry's, they've got grants out. Haagen-Dazs, they've got grants out. You apply for them.
All right. I appreciate the info.
Okay. Well, if nobody else got any more questions, I'm going to head out. You got a question, jump in there quick.
I'll see you next week, Don. Thanks for the information.
Okay. Everybody have a good evening.
Have a
You
good
too,
one,
Don.
Don. Thanks again.
Okay.